So, before I get scolded, this is a good game, and I enjoyed most of my time with it. However, all the reviews and remarks about this game were mainly made by fans of the franchise, specifically fans of the original Final Fantasy VII, and needless to say, there was no lack of praise and hype, which led to me expecting much more out of it. But without rose tinted glasses, it is relatively difficult for me to give this game the same praise it had received from the community because of all the reasons we'll discuss. Full disclosure, this is only my second experience with a Final Fantasy game, and I did consider playing the original beforehand, but after looking it up online, all of my interest was lost, and I'm not a fan of playing that old of a game. I will add though that I am more than open to people giving me some pointers on what I could do differently to enjoy the game in future playthroughs. But without further ado, let's get into why I think Final Fantasy VII Remake is overrated. So, right off the bat, the story and the gameplay captured my attention almost immediately. Cloud moves incredibly fluid with that humongous sword, that it almost comes across as graceful. But to contrast that, he is very much a cold hearted and single minded individual, which gives him this, I don't know, probably a dangerous elegance. That is the best way I can describe it. His attitude towards his teammate was quite amusing though, because they are all these lovable and positive characters that really gave a goofy but enjoyable vibe to the atmosphere the game presents. Keep in mind, if you are looking for a serious game with a serious tone from start to finish, this game won't be for you. The best way I can describe it is it's very anime-ish, which makes sense. I mean, it's a Japanese developer. But I grew to love the characters very quickly, especially Aerith, who refuses to let up on Cloud when she relentlessly chips away at his cold exterior with an unrelenting determination to make him care about others and do things out of kindness and not just for money. And throughout this journey, she and the others on your team manage just that. The story has a charm to it that other games rarely pulls off. The highs of the story are really high. But then, some of the chapters and side missions drag it down to a point where I literally almost quit the game. So, some of the missions, the main missions and the chapters are so drawn out. Specifically, the chapter where you go and rescue Tifa with Aerith from Don Corneo. It feels like in that chapter, the developers were like, alright, let's see just how much we can throw at their direction to drag it out as long as possible. Each time you get close to your objective, it gets pulled further and further back, which I did not enjoy. That chapter took me more than an hour to complete, and there are quite a few more of them. I think chapter 16 or was it chapter 16 and 17 was so freaking drawn out. And it just feels like there was filler for the sake of having filler. If they shaved off about 5 hours of the main story, I think we would have been just perfect. Secondly, the side quests are also drawn out. Not all of them. There are actually only a handful that I felt was drawn out. But the fact that they feel so drawn out is also the fact that they feel inconsequential for the most part. The rewards you get from your side quests are very rarely worth it, and I think the only one of note was probably Chad Lee, where you get certain materials from him that you wouldn't be able to obtain otherwise. So I really did not enjoy the side quests. I actually can't think of one that was enjoyable for me. So yeah, that brought it down for me quite a bit. To where on the chapter where you go and save Tifa, was the one which almost caused me to quit the game. On the gameplay aspect of things, the introduction to the combat system was done very well at first. Using abilities and attacks with the use of the commands menu was made very clear and simple to understand. It might rattle someone who is not used to this type of gameplay, like moi, but I got used to it relatively quickly, and the boss fight at the end of chapter 1 made it easy enough to understand the need to switch characters in order to take advantage of their strengths. The diversity in builds and the party setup was equally as impressive, if not more so, as you can pretty much assign any role to any character, though there are some clear giveaways as to what strengths a particular character has. Nevertheless, the freedom of diversity this game presents was a joy to toy around with, and when I got my ideal setup, the enemies went down left and right. Like, honestly, they dropped like flies. But to get to that point in your playthrough, where you have your ideal setup, as a newcomer to the franchise, it takes a tedious amount of experimentation. I only got my ideal setup at about chapter 15 or 16, which is very near the end of the game. I would have liked to play like this much earlier in the story. Although I enjoyed the freedom of build diversity, I would have much rather preferred that they give distinct roles to party members and then give multiple ways to which that character could fulfill his or her role. For example, restricting the use of certain materia to only one or two of your playable characters, that would have made creating an optimal party much easier and simpler to understand. But in order to get the most out of your party, an insane amount of farming is required as well. There's just simply no way you could max out a character, weapon or materia in your first playthrough without excessive amounts of farming. That becomes much easier in New Game Plus though, since your experience is doubled and your AP is tripled. But that shouldn't be the criteria at which you can reach your full potential in a single playthrough. And you don't necessarily need to be over leveled, but damn, give us a little bit more at least, just like maybe a little bit more AP to get a certain material to a, adequate level. That would have made flushing out your characters and having their full potential in a single playthrough much easier obtained. I just don't like that we need to go and farm to get what we want. Like I said, no need to be over leveled, but just give us a little bit more. It's not that hard, much to ask. But on a more positive note, and one on which I'll end, the visuals in this game are absolutely stunning. From the atmosphere and the environment to the characters and their models, with each having a very distinct look, it was very easy to fall in love with the graphical detail in this game. And the performance that goes along with it is equally as impressive. Like I said at the beginning of the video, this game is good. In fact, I'd go as far as to say it's very good. But the lows are really low for me personally. Keep in mind, this is my own opinion, and if yours differs, that's okay. You are more than welcome to give me some insight on the things I might have overlooked to help me enjoy it a little bit more in subsequent playthroughs, which I will probably do in the future, just not now. I heard a lot of the issues have been addressed in Rebirth, specifically the side missions. A lot of people say the side missions are much more enjoyable, so that's nice. And I plan on playing Rebirth next, so fingers crossed. And I look forward to hearing from you all in the comments, and if you liked the video, let me know by hitting those buttons, you know which. Until next time, may the good Lord bless you and stay safe.